So before we dive into whether or not Nvidia can 10x, here's a message from the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang.
Just as the last industrial revolution, the reason why it came about was because you needed it. And so the industrial revolution that started here in the UK came out of need. You need it now too.
So this is a new industrial revolution, just as big as the early industrial revolution when they invented all the technologies, the factories, the machinery, and it changed everything. That's how big, if not bigger, AI is. So it's a massive technological development. Who do we want to be when an industrial revolution happens? We don't want to be the factory workers. We want to be the factory owners. We had the internet boom. Obviously, everyone who owned internet stocks got extremely wealthy. Owning stock in the dominant technology players got people fabulously wealthy. And that's what we do on this channel. We try to make life-changing returns by owning the highest quality assets on the planet, normally as undiscovered as possible. Obviously, everyone knows about Nvidia, so it's not quite like one of the early stage assets we cover that can 100x plus. But we are going to try to figure out if this asset can 10x and become a $50 trillion company. Right now its market cap is $5 trillion. Is it possible to get a 10x? A 10x could be life-changing depending on how much you put in. And it pays a dividend, so it pays you passive income to wait. So let's dive into what's going on with Nvidia. Well, first, this is the vision of Nvidia. We started off with GPUs in 1999. They created accelerated computing, CUDA software operating system in 2006. 2016, they built the AI supercomputer. So they've been building all along. 2019, they're starting to build out infrastructure for AI data centers. This is a very, very, very expensive technology to create. 2024, scaling up. And this is what we have to look forward to. Massive AI infrastructure. We're talking about data centers that are millions of square feet, right? As dystopic as that sounds, as science fiction as that sounds, that's what Nvidia is building. So they're not just stopping with chips. They're going to build out an infrastructure that literally no one else can compete with because no one else can afford to do it. That's what they're doing with their multi-trillion-dollar market cap. And this is a very clear indicator of whether or not Nvidia can 10x. So in gray, we see total CapEx, money spent by massive organizations on data centers. So we're in 2025. They're going to spend close to $1 trillion building data centers. And every single year going forward, that number is expected to rise. What happens in green to Nvidia's revenue as AI data centers are built out and money pours in? In green, we see the number go up. So according to the projections of the industry experts, AI CapEx is supposed to massively skyrocket. By 2030, it's supposed to 4x what it was in 2025, which means Nvidia's revenues should also 4x. And that's just based purely on one chart. Lots can change, but Nvidia really does have a first mover advantage. The bigger their network, the stickier Nvidia is going to become. So right there, we have revenues of Nvidia 5xing within a few short years. That's by 2030. What happens beyond that? Well, artificial intelligence is probably going to get more and more and more important. Computing is going to get more and more important. Nvidia has so much money, they're going to be investing in different aspects of it and probably become more and more valuable. So 4x by 2030 easily. And so that's just a linear model. What about exponential? Will Nvidia's dominance and market share grow? Well, machine learning, performance training, and inference wins. In green, we see Nvidia. In blue, we see Google. In gray, we see all others. Cumulative wins, Nvidia has been massively dominating. The OpenAI partnership is a powerful demonstration of Nvidia's ability as an AI infrastructure partner, developing architecture, chips, systems, networks, data centers. The partnership extends existing collaboration to scale multi-gigawatts of infrastructure at Microsoft, OCI, and CoreWeave. We know Nvidia is ridiculously sticky with the massive AI companies, right? So yeah, Microsoft, OpenAI, Nvidia intends to invest in increments over time up to $100 billion in equity. Every 1 gigawatt build out will require $50 to $60 billion in total spend. OpenAI will need to reinvest future revenue and or secure other sources of financing to cover the total cost of their build outs. So Nvidia has one of the most genius business models on the planet. Not only do the biggest organizations on the planet have to continuously invest heavily into AI infrastructure, they have to do it constantly. It depreciates. They have to invest every single year reinvest. That's continuous revenues. It's not like you buy a house and it's over with. It's almost like buying a new house every few years. Massive. I would think it can more than 4x by 2030. Just based on the scale, based on the stickiness, based on how much capital it has, based on its head start. What about its financials, right? We stay on top of the numbers on this channel, the actual financials. This is how we're tracking in 2025. 3 months ended July 2025, net income, $26 billion. That's pure profit that they get to reinvest. Compare that to a year ago, it was $17 billion. They are growing their profits, their revenues, unbelievable growth, obviously. If we look at the 6 months ended, so for the first half of 2025, net income, $45 billion. A year ago, $31 billion. Just massive, unbelievable growth. The price to earnings of this company, so the price of the total company divided by its earnings is 57 right now, or something close to 57. So it's not crazy expensive, but what we do know is companies that are super high quality have high PEs forever. So it's not like Amazon ever became dirt cheap, like 1 PE, never. If it has a high PE and it continues to grow and it continues to be high quality, it'll keep that high PE forever. So you can't just say it's overvalued. A good PE is under 20, but Nvidia is likely not going to go anywhere close to 20 anytime soon, but it is making unbelievable money. What about its balance sheet? How much capital does it have to play with? Total assets, $140 billion. Total liabilities, $40 billion. Assets represents the capital they have to invest in the future. Liabilities represent the capital they have to pay in the future. $140 billion of assets, $40 billion of liabilities. They have a massive amount of capital to invest. That's what's interesting. The bigger the market cap, the bigger the asset base, the more likely these companies are to win because the more capital they have to invest. This is an arms race for artificial intelligence. So you want a beautiful balance sheet. That's what we see with Nvidia. Over the next year, if we look at the current assets, right, what do they have available to spend over the next year? $102 billion. Current liabilities, what they're going to have to pay over the next year is $24 billion. So again, within the next year, pristine balance sheet, massive amount of capital to be put to work. So here's the chart of Nvidia. Obviously, it's ridiculously high. If you're lucky enough to get it on a pullback, good for you. The way to buy an asset like this is to dollar cost average in only on red days. That's how you guarantee you're going to get it at the deepest discount possible. Only on red days buy. This isn't financial advice. Obviously, the chart is already pumped. The world understands this, but we're trying to figure out if it can 10x. I definitely believe it can. It can at least 4x its revenues by 2030. And I would argue that it gets exponential. So it can do more than 4x by 2030. So that's a look at Nvidia. We're trying to make life-changing returns. We're trying to own the factories of the future. Nvidia is absolutely one of them. AI is going to replace a lot of jobs most likely. So we don't want to be worrying about our jobs. We want to own the future. Nvidia is a good one. I like the semiconductor ETF, SMH, because Nvidia is a massive part of it, but it also has Taiwan Semiconductor. It also has Broadcom. And you're going to get diversified exposure from some of these other assets. So it's a little safer than just going all in on one company. But Nvidia, obviously, I do think can easily 10x. Thank you for watching. If you want to know what my portfolio is, how I'm staying exposed to these assets, and trying to own the factory of the future, you can follow me on Patreon. Appreciate you. We're going to dive more into some of these assets. So if you do want to deep dive into a company, just let me know. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as possible.